Hi friends, here I am in Las Vegas once again, and I'm at the gravesite of actor Tony Curtis. He's right behind me here. And since it's the 60th anniversary of the movie Some Like It Hot, which is my favorite Tony Curtis movie, I thought this would be a perfect time to stop by. So how many of you are fans of Tony Curtis and Some Like It Hot? Thanks for joining me on another trip down memory lane. Well, I have to say this is the first time I pumped gas while I watched TV. Instead of being a trip to the past, this is more like a trip to the future. I just arrived in Hollywood and realized that I was almost out of gas, so I'm here at the corner of Hollywood Boulevard and Bronson Avenue, and I just noticed this mural of Tony Curtis across the street. And it reminds me that I visited Tony Curtis's grave last year in Las Vegas, and I haven't shared it on this channel yet. So I'm going to take this as a sign, literally, that it's time for me to share my visit to his grave with you. It also happens to be the 60th anniversary of the premiere of Some Like It Hot. Can you believe it came out in March of 1959? I saw it again the other day, and I have to say, it really has aged well. So I'm curious, how much are all of you paying for gas where you live? Remember the days when you could fill up your tank for a few dollars? Ah, the good old days. Some of you might remember that last year I visited Red Fox's gravesite at the Palm Eastern Cemetery in Las Vegas, located on Southeastern Avenue. Tony Curtis is also buried in this cemetery, although he's at the back of the cemetery and it has a different name. The section where Curtis is buried is called the King David Cemetery. It's the Jewish section of the cemetery, and you enter through the gates of this side street, which is on East El Dorado Lane. And it's one of the easier grave sites to find. You just drive straight ahead, past the temple on the left, until you come to the first cross street, where you can make a left. And then his final resting place is just in the section to the right, and then you follow the sidewalk from the curb a very short distance until you see his private gated section on the right. Tony Curtis was born Bernard Schwartz, June 3rd, 1925, in Manhattan, New York. He died September 29th, 2010, at the age of 85 in Henderson, Nevada. He appeared in more than 100 movies and TV shows over his 6-decade-long career, and was even nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actor for The Defiant Ones in 1958. In addition to Some Like It Hot, two of his most acclaimed roles were in Spartacus and in The Boston Strangler. And if you do visit this cemetery in person, there are quite a number of other famous people buried here, and I'll visit them in future videos, but today I just wanted to focus on Curtis. He was married 5 times, and his first wife was actress Janet Leigh. They were married from 1951 to 1962. Leigh was cremated, and her ashes are interred at Westwood Village Memorial Park in Los Angeles, California. Their daughter, Jamie Lee Curtis, became an actress, and her career has been just as impressive as her parents. I don't know about you, but I grew up watching, we'll look for some shade here, watching Tony Curtis movies back in the 1960s when I was growing up. So as I mentioned earlier, Some Like It Hot was my favorite. So how about you? What's your favorite Tony Curtis movie? So here's a closer look at the Tony Curtis mural that's located at the corner of Bronson Avenue and Hollywood Boulevard. It looks like it was painted in 2011, and it's sponsored by Jill Curtis and ShilohHorseRescue.com. So for those of you who love horses, you might want to check out that website. Unless you're a pro wrestling fan or a fan of the movie Some Like It Hot, you may not recognize the man standing here on the right. Mike Mazurki was a well-known and very popular professional wrestler, as well as an actor who appeared in more than 100 movies and TV shows during his career. He played one of the gangsters in Some Like It Hot, and this photo was sent to me by the man on the left. He happens to be former professional wrestler Big Bill Anderson, and the two men were friends. I can't say I'm a fan of wrestling, but I am a big fan of Anderson's YouTube channel, which is called Big Bill Anderson's Death Tours. Back in the day, Bill wrestled many of the biggest names in wrestling and then went on to train many more. Today, he spends much of his time visiting the grave sites of wrestlers who are no longer with us and sharing their life stories. Because he knew so many of them personally or professionally or both, he's able to share some very interesting life stories that might not otherwise be told. So if you're interested in seeing or visiting the grave sites of famous wrestlers and lots of other famous people as well, then I highly recommend Big Bill Anderson's Death Tours YouTube channel. Mike Mazurki was born December 25th, 1907 in Ukraine and died December 9th, 1990 at the age of 82 in Glendale, California, and his ashes are interred at Forest Lawn, Glendale. Big Bill recently visited his final resting place, and here are a few images from his niche. You can watch the entire video on Big Bill's YouTube channel. And here's a picture of Big Bill on the left and author Steve Hodel on the right. Hodell's father was George Hodel, who was the prime suspect in the Elizabeth Short murder. You may remember that I mentioned Steve Hodel a couple of weeks ago in my I Am the Night vlog about the Black Dahlia. And here's a picture of Big Bill up in Oakland, California at the gravesite of Elizabeth Short, who was also known as the Black Dahlia. So Big Bill's channel isn't limited just to visiting the gravesites of wrestlers. And I'd like to give a shout out and a big thank you to my latest Patreon supporters, Les Doyle, George Salling Jr., Dwight Lilly, and Catherine Davola. Thanks so much for your generous contributions, and your postcards will be in the mail this week. So thanks for joining me today, everybody, and I will hope to see you on my next trip down memory lane. If you'd like to receive a postcard that I pick up from one of my trips, click the link down below and become a Patreon of this channel. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you'll be notified when I upload future videos like this one.